In 2023, I started something I said I would never do, and my goal in 2024 is to finish it, and that is I'm writing my very own beginning Greek grammar and my own beginning Greek course from the ground up. In this video, I want to share with you a little bit about how I'm getting on, some of the things I've learned, and some of the things that I think make this a little bit different and perhaps challenging as well. At the end of this video, I also have a little announcement, which I think is pretty exciting. Our members have found really exciting as well. So this is all really about 2024 goals, and I'm sharing with you my biggest one, which is to finish my beginning Greek grammar / beginning Greek course that I'm building from the ground up. If you haven't already seen it, I did a video on this explaining why I'm changing my mind. You can find a link to that just up here. But let me just give you a nutshell version of that. What we've found is that in seminary, when you learn Greek in seminary, you've got two things that are driving you, well, at least most people. You've got a carrot, first of all. There's normally when you go to seminary in part because you want to learn the original languages. Who doesn't want to learn Greek, right? It's really just that it's hard and people recognize that it is quite difficult. So I think people want to learn the language and they want to be able to read the original text as it stands and as it was originally inspired. So that's not the issue, I don't think. But seminaries make this a little bit more challenging, and they can afford to do this. And the reason they can afford to do this is because they have a stick, and that is the grades. If you want to complete the grades, and you pay for this course and all this kind of thing, so you want to complete the course, you want to get the degree, you want to get the grade, you have to do the work. So that functions as a stick. So you got this carrot, I want to learn the languages, and you have the stick which drives you from behind. Now, that's all well and good for seminary, and so seminary professors, when they write a Greek grammar, have those two things in their favor. So it's really just, well, what's going to work for me as a professor in terms of making sure I can teach this really well, and they write really good Greek grammars to help them do that within the constraints of the seminary environment. However, we don't have the stick at Biblical Mastery Academy. We're dependent on the carrot, and we want to make that carrot as beautiful and as lovely and as attractive as we possibly can, and we'll do everything we can to continue to increase and improve that as we go on. However, at the end of the day, if the language is too hard to learn, then that carrot just looks like something that is never getting any closer, and you end up, well, students end up finding themselves overwhelmed. And the problem is, of course, not so much with the language itself, but these grammars that have a stick kind of mentality with them, they present way too much information for the average student to be able to consider and learn on a chapter-by-chapter basis. Let me show you something. You can see here, I've opened Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek, and you can see here we are in chapter 6. Now, chapter 6 in Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek is really the first chapter where you start to get into any kind of grammatical concepts at all. And you can see here in 6.15 that what he's had to introduce you to here is masculine, feminine, and neuter words in the nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative. You haven't learnt the dative and genitive yet, you've just got the nominative and accusative. But you can see that there's a whole lot of stuff. There's plural and there's singular. All of these things are all here. And now that's only the start of it. There's also the article, and then there's this idea of passing, and then there's, you know, cases and all these kinds of... So this is all just in one chapter. Now, that's a huge amount of information for somebody who doesn't really have a good grasp on grammar to walk into this and say, oh, that's really good. Because here's the thing, right? The grammar translate method has been designed and assuming you know English grammar reasonably well, which then that grammar functions as a bridge, if you like, for you to learn another language. But if you don't have that grammar, you don't have that bridge, which means that whoever's teaching you needs to actually make sure they build the bridge at the same time. Now, I think Mounce does a pretty good job of this, but here's the thing, right? That's just too much information if all you have is a carrot. If you have a carrot and a stick, well, you just roll your sleeves up and you get into it and you know, I just got to get this done, and no matter how hard it is, I'm just going to work my way through it. So we want to make this a little bit easier, and that's what beginning Greek in small steps is really all about. So let me jump back into beginning Greek in small steps, and you can see here we've got, this is lesson 4, subject and object. What we do to start with is just talk about the verb, the subject, and the object in a sentence, and I can give you some exercises in Logos Bible software to go and start to identify those. And then in the next lesson we're going to introduce you to verbs, and really this is just the me verb, and then we're going to introduce you to first, second, and third person ideas as well. Then in the next lesson, basic sentence structure, this is where we start to give you number. So now you have singular and plural. And you can see at this stage, in 3 lessons, we've walked you through the nominative and the accusative in the singular and in the plural. And that's it, right? You've started to get your head around how these function in a sentence, and it's really just in small bite-sized steps. That's really the key here. And so beginning Greek in small steps, the grammar that I've been writing, is actually designed to break the whole process into very small, easy to consume, easy to digest, easy to learn sections. And what I've actually found as I've been doing this is that this is actually not so much like your general typical grammar translate method grammar. It's actually more like the PPP, present, prepare, and produce method that Constantine Campbell's approach has been in Gibson and Campbell's beginning Greek grammar. Now, this means then that this is a little different to other things that are on the market. For instance, in lesson 6, as I just showed you, really all you're learning is number. That's the only real thing. You've kind of learnt the basics of singular stuff, and now you're going to learn number. So it's pretty straightforward. We just break it into very small sections, things that would normally be crammed into like a single, you know, a little couple of paragraphs, and something like Mounce is actually now its own lesson. Each lesson is actually small, 3 pages normally is what we try and have it inside the grammar, and then we give you some basic lessons to learn, to review, and also to try those things out, exercise what you've learnt. Along the way, let me show you kind of some of the things we give you along the way. So let me just jump into the beginning Greek course and show you exactly what this kind of looks like. Let's start with number and predicates here, since that's the lesson we were just looking at in the beginning Greek. And you can see here we've got a video, short video. Normally these videos are 10 to 15 minutes long each, pretty straightforward. Then we go through and you got all of the full text of the grammar sitting here in the lesson as well. You've got number and nouns and so on, all these other things that we've got to learn here. We talk about the predicate nominatives, how to make sense of 2 nominatives in 1 sentence, and then it's some basic questions, how questions are done. And then we have this, I like this, what to remember and practice. So one of the things I find is that students kind of get to the end of a lesson and they feel, oh my goodness, there's all this information here. The point of this what to remember and practice is, and you see this in other grammars, so I'm not the first person to do this, is really just to sort of say, here's what you need to know at the end of this lesson. If you can say that, yeah, you know those things, then you can just move on to the, you know, go do the homework and move on to the next lesson. That's really, it's to make it as easy as possible. So again, if you don't know everything else in the chapter, if you kind of feel a bit lost, but you know the answer to these questions, or you know what these points refer to, then you're all good. Move on to the next lesson. So again, it's just to make it really easy. Then of course you can see here, we give you the homework. So you've got your homework in both Word document format and PDF, and then you can download the slides as well. So that's some of the stuff that we give you in this as well. We also give review lessons as well. So every 4 modules, we have a new module which we call a review module. That just goes over everything you've learned, because what we find again is that you get through, say, 4 modules, you feel, oh my goodness, there's a whole lot I've learned over the last few weeks. Well, we're going to help you to sort of internalize that by going through one of those review lessons. So every 4 modules or thereabouts, we'll give you a review, just gives you a week, essentially, if you're going to follow along in our cohort, to go through the information and just solidify it for yourself. So there's some extra exercises in those review modules so that you can sort of just make sure you understand how it all works together, okay? One of the other things which I'm really thrilled about that we can do as well is, because we're providing these lessons in Word document format, you can actually download them and then you compile them into a personal book inside Logos Bible software, which means you've got all of the notes that I provide you, complete with footnotes. Also, all the verses are automatically hyperlinked, plus any references to other resources that I happen to have, I can link to those as well, and you can just automatically open them inside of Logos Bible software. So this is a really cool little feature as well, and students are building their own grammar inside of Logos Bible software as they work through each of the lessons. So this is pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited about this as well. So in terms of how the process has been worked, I've had some incredible help, both from the members. We've got a number of members who are going through this course right now, and we've had some fantastic feedback from them, including things like, okay, this is a little bit much in 1 lesson, let's break this into 2 lessons. So we've done that once so far. I've also, on the basis of members and the feedback I've been getting as they've been going through this course, I've also provided the slides as well, and also we found, of course, a number of typos and things like that that needed to be updated as well. But the process is pretty robust so far. What I end up doing is I write the grammar inside of Word, Microsoft Word, and then I submit that to review. I have a team inside a Biblical Mastery Academy of former students who are now either instructors or who are pretty much that's the way it works. Yeah, former students who are now instructors. Many of them have got some expertise that I don't have. They've got their own kind of desires to learn and know different things and their own level of detail. So these are people who are in many ways much more detailed in their knowledge of the language than I am, which is fantastic. So I give them the opportunity to look at the work that I've done, they review it, they give me feedback, we have some great discussions, we have lots of helpful feedback from them. I then go back and update the Word document, sometimes resubmit it for them to take another look at. Then I create a PowerPoint deck and I create the video that goes with that particular lesson. We edit it, we upload it into the course, and it's then released on a schedule to our members. The feedback, like I said, has been really good. And what we're doing with this is releasing, some of these lessons get released 1 a week, some of them get released 2 a week, depending on how much work and the kind of work it is. It allows us to flex. And the goal is, and part of the reason for having 70-ish lessons is that you can go through and do 1 lesson a week, and it's really, really easy to do that. Or you can go through and do a module a week. And what we're trying to do inside of our membership is actually to provide this so you go through beginning Greek in about a year. And of course, we're going to have some other options to go through it slower at your own pace and perhaps faster at later on this year. In 2024, I'm actually hoping to do like a refresher Greek course where we do a module a week, which will be about a 6 months through beginning Greek, which is what we used to do with some of the other grammars. So this is a really flexible course, and I'm really thankful for that. It allows us to have a lot of flexibility in the way we deliver it. So my goal is to finish the development of beginning Greek in small steps, hopefully by the end of July. We are actually going to start teaching a new cohort going through this in the second week, I think it is, of January. So if you're interested in joining us for that, then go to bma.to/roadmap and get on our mailing list, and you'll find out all about that when the opportunity comes. Once I finish the beginning Greek course in July, I've got other things I'm working on. But the other thing that I wanted to announce on this video as well, just so that you know this is coming. This is something we've been working on for about 6 weeks now. So we're actually launching our own Biblical Mastery Academy app inside of the App Store, both for iOS. So this is going to be on iPhone and iPad, and also on Android as well, which means you better download the BMA app. And in fact, we're looking forward to this because I'm going to be able to say to you, go download the app and get started today at bma.to/get started. And you'll be able to go do that and just get underway right away. So go do that now if you haven't already done so. And if the link doesn't get you into the app right away, it's possibly because the app hasn't yet been released. But by going into that, you'll be the first to know when it is. So we've got lots of other plans for 2024. Our goal is to really provide the easiest approach to being able to learn to read and study the New Testament in the original languages and go well beyond that. In fact, one of my personal goals for this year is also to read a lot more outside of the New Testament. I'm going to be reading through the Apocrypha. I'm going to be reading through the Septuagint this year. And I'm looking forward to sort of expanding into some of those fields in the future as well. Before I go, one of the things I'd love to know from you, what are your goals for 2024? Leave a comment in the comment section below, particularly if they're related to Greek and Hebrew and reading the scriptures. I'd love to hear from you there. Thanks so much for all your support over the last few years, and I look forward to serving you even more in the next, however long the Lord gives us. Thanks so much for being part of what we're doing at BMA, and I look forward to being a blessing to you in the very near future, maybe even in the next video. I'll see you there.